welcome to the Google Educator Group for New Zealand Spotlight for Term 1 2015. I'm Rob Clark from Learning Architects in Christchurch, and I'm coming to you on behalf of the Google Educator Group leaders. I'll be your host for tonight, along with Anne Batchelor from Alexandra Primary. The Google Educator Group is a, I'll introduce people first and give them do a quick intro of each person. We've got a huge lineup of special guests this morning. Then I'll talk about a little bit of background to the Google Educator Group for New Zealand, give you an overview of this Hangout on air and how it will work, and then each person will give you a more detailed introduction of their school or their place of work and a bit about themselves. So let me just introduce the people that we have with us this morning. First person is Anne Batchelor. Anne is a newly certified Google certified teacher, and she comes to us from Alexandra Primary. Say hi, Anne.
Hi, everybody.
And next to her, and now Anne is co-hosting this with me, she'll be looking after the Q&A app. So part of this spotlight, which is recorded for you to look at later on, will be questions and answers that you can ask as we go. Okay, so we're inviting teachers and educators and their students around New Zealand and the wider world that see this to participate. Also next to Anne, we have Kimberly Baars from Taupaki School. Say hi, Kim.
Hi.
Okay, now Fiona Grant is with us, but she is currently in a meeting and she will be coming into the Hangout later on. Fiona is one of the Google Educator Group leaders, and she is also a Google certified teacher. So Fiona will take part in part of the agenda towards the end. Now, we have two special guests from Christchurch. The first one is Liz Fairhall. Liz Fairhall is from Selwyn House with her lovely students here. So say hi, Liz and girls.
Hi, everyone.
And also from Christchurch, we have Bridget McKendry from the Fab Lab in Christchurch, which you're going to learn a lot about, along with her students. Say hi, Bridget and your students.
Hi.
Great. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to our presentation. And I'm going to start give you a bit of an overview of Google Educator Group for New Zealand, and we'll take it from there. So the Google Educator Group is really part of a worldwide movement that is a locally driven organisation where volunteers give their time, and the goal of the Google Educator Group across the world is to learn, share, inspire and empower people through technology. So that's the vision for the Google Educator Group. It is something that we suggest you look out for in education because it's a great place to learn and share and collaborate with other like-minded educators. So this spotlight is going to be streamed via the GEG website, and we will put that up for you once the video has been recorded. But also you can use the hashtag GEGNZ via Twitter, and there'll be a storified link which gives you all of the tweets from this event, which will be available on the GEGNZ page as well. Okay, so we have a focus today on maker culture in education, and so we've got Kim Baars from Taupaki School in Auckland, Bridget McKendry from Fab Lab in Christchurch, Liz Fairhall from Selwyn House, and their students as well. So first I'm going to hand over to Kimberly from Taupaki to talk about herself first and introduce herself, as well as I'm going to get her to then introduce her school and tell us a little bit about Taupaki School and just a quick intro about what the school's about and a bit about your journey. Right, over to you, Kim.
Great. Hi, so I'm Kimberly Baars, and I am the Design Technology teacher at Taupaki School, which is based out in northwest Auckland. Our school has around about 260 to 270 students, but we also have a technology centre at our school that services 100 students in the area.
Thank you, Kim. Right, I'm going to flick back to the presentation, and there's a couple of pictures here to show about your school. Can you tell us a bit about Taupaki?
Rob?
Yes. Okay, Kim, do you want to tell us a bit about what are some of these pictures you've got on your slide?
Just a range of different projects and different age levels that have been experimenting and using maker culture to really deepen learning connections. I've been working not only with my current Year 7 and 8 students using maker culture, but right across the school. In the last picture on the end, that is a Year 5 student who was part of a breaking day. So for me and for the school, it's not just about making, but also about pulling apart technology to really understand it. In the middle there, we've got a bunch of students playing with a makey, so thinking about circuits. They were looking at how to create a sound sculpture, a sound installation, so using coding, but also really getting hands-on with creating an actual artifact out of that. The next picture is using a Kano, so it's sort of a DIY build computer. So off the back of the pull apart, we then did a how do we build a computer, and then looking at the coding behind that. And in the far picture, that's actually a 4-year-old who hasn't quite started school yet, but he is making a little motorized little bot, looking at motors and circuits.
Great, thanks, Kim.
I think the big thing for me around
Kim, do you just want to repeat what you just said, starting with the big thing, because your sound broke out?
The kind of focus for me, like making to make and then making to learn. So hooking in that curiosity, getting students to dive deeper and really getting them to ignite a passion about something. So then that learning to make really does shift into making to learn. So in that pull apart with technology, at first it was ripping things apart, but then there was the richer discussions about what is a capacitor, what is this, what is that, what is a CPU. So being able to have those richer, more complex conversations.
Thank you. Right, Bridget, can you please introduce yourself and your students, and then let me know when you want me to share the screen to show the slide that gives the images of Fab Lab, please.
Sure, thank you, Rob. Hi, I'm Bridget. I run 2 maker-related spaces in Christchurch, which are very different. We have Maker Crate, which is a maker space in a shipping crate, very Christchurch right now. And our bigger project, Fab Lab XcCh, which is a node on an international network based around the Centre for Bits and Atoms at MIT. We're part of an international network that share the same basic kit, but it's really all about our community and sharing our learning resources and getting together to solve local problems, which also seem to solve a lot of international problems as well. So here I have Bailey, Luca, and Tierney, who are part of the homeschool group that come in on Friday mornings. Hi,
Hi, girls. Hey, Bridget, do you want to just tilt your screen a little bit so that their heads are a little bit further in the middle of the screen?
Yeah, that's better.
Now we can see your smiling faces. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the origins of your amazing centre, and just tell me when you want me to put the pictures on, and I'll attempt to get it right. Bear with me, I've got the wrong one. And we'll come back to Selwyn House, don't worry, Liz.
Cool. Well, we have a bit of a story. The earthquakes are a big part of our story. So basically, before the quakes, about 5 or 6 years ago, there were a group of us in Christchurch that we decided we want to make a maker space. Like, one of us had gone to Berlin and seen all these great art centres that were incorporating maker spaces and you know, sharing with the community. You know, some quite highbrow art and design projects that everyone could collaborate on, and we thought this was great. And we were underway getting, working on a space, working with the council and libraries and everything, and then of course the quakes happened. Everything we had built basically was levelled in one fell swoop. My son's school, Discovery One, was a pretty exciting inner city modern learning environment at the time. These kids were already basically, we didn't have a name for it then, but they were basically using maker movement concepts in their just basic learning, which is very context-based at that school. So, they had computers, they were doing robotics. I'd bring in craft and electronic components and soldering irons and, help out as an over-enthusiastic parent helper. But on February the 22nd, their school basically was out of action and all of their kit. So 4 years later, they're in prefabs out near the Teachers College. They don't have any of the kit that they originally started. So we had to get very, very innovative. We had to bring in the community to donate, computers, and also to continue their learning sort of approach of, the hands-on, digital bits to atoms kind of learning style. We ended up having to take things apart to do our robotics program because we couldn't afford any new stuff. There just weren't any resources. So in a way, that's made everyone really, really innovative. And for me, that's the core of the maker movement is, it's grassroots, it's problem solving together, just as a, basically, doing something from nothing, solving problems here. The next part of the story is, post-quakes. So I, at a conference called Kiwi Fu a few years ago, which is kind of a gathering of thinkers from around the country, I was introduced to Vic Oliver, who designed one of the first ever desktop 3D printers, and some other people, especially lecturers from Massey Design School, one of which, Chris, wanted to introduce the International Fab Lab network to New Zealand via Massey University. And he managed to hook in the national conference that year too, and I was invited to go along and teach sort of advanced e-textiles and Arduino kind of projects as part of that conference. I ended up staying, just making so many friends in the community, and I decided I don't want this all to end, and I want this in Christchurch. So that started the process of us getting a Fab Lab in Christchurch. The council weren't easily convinced, especially with everyone under so much pressure here. So we managed to get a small amount of funding to kit out a shipping crate. This was designed by the Wellington maker community, led by Richard Fortune on this project. Basically, it's a movable maker space that you can put on a train or a truck, and already, it arrives with all the kit you need to start just some basic maker programs, a couple of 3D printers, a couple of computers, electronics kits, soldering irons, even a lot of craft items and art gear as well. So that was really successful. It landed on an empty space in the central city that used to have a big hotel on it. And we just had hundreds, probably getting into the thousands of visitors over a year. And nobody had really understood makerspace in the context of what had happened in Christchurch, and how, we have this great opportunity now to rebuild everything from scratch again, including how we learn. We get to choose, new spaces for our schools and libraries, but also new learning programs and approaches accordingly. So it's almost like it's been very terrible and hard work living in Christchurch since then, but we also have this clean slate opportunity as well to do things differently. So anyway, that was successful, so that convinced the Canterbury Community Trust to give us some seed capital to start 2 major Fab Labs in Christchurch. The first one is at a new arts organisation space called the XcCh, which is basically just a place for artists that have been, they used to have studios. There are no studios to hire anymore, so this offers cheap studio space, and we're a part of that. So we're very hooked in with the creative community as well as the tech and robotics communities here, and other businesses. We're going to be the first tenant in the new reopened arts centre in July too, which we are very excited about. So that's going to be sort of a go-to place where it's going to be a very fun, fully kitted out place where people can come and do intuitive hands-on stuff, or they can take more advanced programs. We'll be doing a lot of classes and for kids and teacher PD as well. With the teacher PD, because we're not teachers, we're not qualified, we have a lot of friends at Teachers College and in schools, they can help us, but we've got a different approach, you know, because we're just community learning, sharing, everyone helping each other learn techniques and sharing what they know, rather than, you know, a sort of academic. Sorry, my words are starting to go because I've been talking so much. Yeah, so I'm just getting, have I ticked all the things? Yeah, I think there's basically most of our story. So the homeschool kids who we have on Friday, they're used to working without a space. I mean, the homeschool movement tends to take advantage of libraries, any kind of open spaces within Christchurch, even some of the empty space gap filler sites that have been put up. So they're quite used to, you know, making wherever you can, really. You know, you can sort of take the principles we learn here. You know, having kit available is really handy, but yeah, you guys can pretty much make stuff anywhere, can't you? Yeah, it's all good. Okay, yeah. I'll stop now.
No, hey Bridget, can I get the girls to just say, introduce themselves and tell us their names, and can you maybe move the screen over? I think there's somebody further to the left that we can't see, or maybe you guys need to all crowd in a little bit. There we go.
Hey, you're on camera.
Just briefly. So wave to the camera. My name is.
Yeah. So this is Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
Luca. And Tierney. So how old are you guys?
I'm 11. 13. I'm 15.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any questions to ask Rob?
Thanks for giving us your time this morning, girls. Do you have any questions you wanted to ask me? No? Okay. Okay. Bridget, I'll share those pictures now of the Fab Lab in our presentation, and then we'll move to Liz, okay? Right. So do you want to tell us about this first image?
Okay, so that's a nice panoramic shot of Fab Lab Christchurch, basically, and it's post-workshop, so it's in a bit of disarray. We've got about 7 different kinds of 3D printers, and a vinyl cutter, a big laser cutter which is out of shot, a maker library, and various cabinets with electronic components and pipe cleaners and other kind of making things. Our tables we made ourselves because after machines we ran out of budget, so we actually had to go to Mitre 10, get some plywood and dowel, and design some tables which also have storage underneath, and they're designed to be just locked together and also pulled apart really easily. There's no glue or nails, so they rely on gravity. So that's a lot of our furniture. And we're designing new storage panels and walls for hanging things on that are completely fabricated in the lab on our machines too. So we're kind of living what we say, but mainly out of economic necessity.
Yeah, so you're trying to be self-sustaining as much as you can, aren't you?
Exactly. We're going to be financially self-sustainable, but for both our labs by the end of the year, according to our projections. But mainly it's just because of volunteers, you know, parents of the kids that come here helping, people donating wood and stuff to us, and, you know, actually building our own fit out. So when we do have to splash out on expensive machines, you know, we've got that money there for that.
Cool. Okay. What's this next image?
Oh, those are our little mini makers passes for our after school classes. So mini makers is a after school 2-hour program, runs from 4 till 6, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's less about learn to 3D print or learn to code. It's one is called toy craft. So basically you're learning to design and fabricate and even program sometimes a toy like an action figure or you know, something a bit like a My Little Pony, but it's one you've completely designed and made yourself and could potentially take to the market and sell.
Oh, wow.
So that's the idea. Yeah, it's like a mini innovation lab.
Can I come but not make a My Little Pony?
What's that?
Can I come but not make a My Little Pony? Because I've got enough of those in my house.
Certainly, Rob, you could come make whatever you like here. Yeah. My Little Pony have licensing and copyright and things like that as well. So we have to be, that's something we have to be mindful in a Fab Lab and in the makerspace as well.
Okay.
Is ownership of ideas.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, hey, thank you, girls and Bridget. It's wonderful to have you with us. Now, I'd like to hand over now to Liz and her girls from Selwyn House. So can you please introduce yourselves, and then we'll switch to your slides and tell us about yours. So start off by introducing yourselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about your school.
Cool. So hi, I'm Liz Fairhall, and I'm the Director of Educational Technologies here at Selwyn House. I run the Make Ed program here and our Robotics and Coding program. We're an independent all-girls school from years 1 to 8, and we run our Make Ed program from 5 years old to 13. As well as we've got preschool that we sometimes get involved, so from 3 years up, and we run the IB, so International Baccalaureate Primary Years program, and I'm here with some of my girls today. So I'm here with Hattie, Amelia, Enya, Caroline, and Annabelle, and Zal. So I guess for us, our journey started, and we integrated the program for Maker Education at the beginning of last year, and it's really sort of hit off and started to pick up some really good speed. I found out recently that we've run robotics at our school for the last 12 years, which it has the same maker mindset through that process as well. So for our Maker Education, it started from a need that we identified. We noticed a decrease of hands-on learning and an increase of technologies, and we run a one-to-one laptop program from year 6 to year 8, and we have a BYOD program for the rest of our school. So Maker Education has really given us that opportunity to be able to find that balance between hands-on learning and that future-focused technologies. If you want, you can go to some of the slides and I can talk over some of those if you want, Rob. So we use design thinking to consolidate learning and to give structure to our maker culture within education, and it's enabled us to build on skills each year and set a scope, and it gives us, I guess, something tangible to work from. For us, purpose is a really huge thing for us, so girls do want to know the reason for what they're making, and they want to be able to make the world a better place, and there is some research behind that, and definitely the Maker Education has allowed for that. So our mission at Selwyn House is to create a space that encourages exploration and innovation in science, technology, engineering and design, and to develop in our students the capacity to be confident and be those innovators of the future. So I guess some of the images I've got here, so I've got some girls who have been working on some robotics, and we do club as well as class curriculum for our Maker Education, and then the two smaller ones across were e-textiles, and we've got two girls there who are working on squishy circuits, so starting to work on the idea of what it means to connect circuits, and then that was translated into making some squirrel bots and looking at some block circuit kits that we make up as a class. Yeah, so that's kind of us, I guess. But Hattie, what do you think? I mean, what does maker space or maker culture for us in at Selwyn House mean to you?
So I really like doing maker space at Selwyn House because it means that we have time to do some more tactile learning, and we get to actually make ideas and be really creative about it, rather than just coming up with the ideas and not doing much with it. So I really like that aspect of it.
Cool. And do you have anything to add to that, Amelia?
Well, I really like doing Makerspace at Selwyn House because we get to take one idea and expand it in our own direction, so we can kind of do what we want with it and not be limited to one idea.
Cool. So that's kind of, I guess, us at Selwyn House and where we're at the moment.
Thank you. Now, I would like to, before we move on into the agenda properly, I want to invite Anne. If you can please just give us a very quick overview of your school. As one of the hosts, Anne has been instrumental in helping arrange this event. So could you please introduce yourself and your school a little bit and just give us a real quick overview of your journey in this area?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. I'm Anne, and I'm a Year 5-6 classroom teacher at Alexandra Primary School in Central Otago. And as Rob mentioned earlier, I'm a newly certified, Google certified teacher. And as part of my moonshot journey that started September last year, I wanted to really try and bring the maker movement into my local area. And so we are very much just starting along that road. It's been really exciting. I've just established, it's been running for about a month, the Code Club here in Alexandra, which is open to all of our primary schools in the region as well as our high school. And just in my classroom for now, we've started having our maker time and integrating that into the day. And it's been really powerful. I'm really excited at the potential of using some design thinking principles and not just ICT, but also just some good old-fashioned making and doing and building with my children. And hopefully I'm actually at a maker culture day today in Queenstown. That's where I'm coming from at the moment. And we're just trying to make sure that we spread the word, I guess, and get some teachers involved in giving all this a try. So it's pretty exciting times down here at the moment.
Yeah, and so to give a bit of context about this particular Google Educator group Hangout on air, as Anne said, there's a conference happening in Queenstown at the moment, and so this is a virtual part of it. Now, in addition to being part of this face-to-face conference, we are also, for the very first time, involving students. So this is a first for the GEG group. And we're really pleased to be able to involve the student and learner perspective as well as the educator perspective. Now, to give you a bit of an overview of the agenda today, before we start getting into it, we're going to start off by talking about what is maker culture, and I'm going to invite Liz and Kim hopefully to give their perspective on what maker culture is, and then during each part of the agenda I'll potentially ask students to give their perspective. So once we've talked about that, we're going to go through the advantages and some of the benefits that we see, or that our guests see. Then we're going to hopefully give you lots of good practical ideas around ideas for getting started in your classroom or your school. So we hope to give you good starting points with both some thinking behind it, as well as practical strategies and ideas for what to do to kick it off. We're going to hopefully address some issues that you need to consider around getting started with makerspace and maker culture in your setting. And then we'll finish with Anne will share, and she'll be looking at the Q&A app. And so those viewers that are looking at it at the moment, please feel free to click the right-hand top corner of this video screen and click on the little wee Q&A icon, and you can ask questions and provide answers to other viewers as well. Once we've gone through there, we have a special announcement on behalf of the Google Educator Group NZ, and we'll finish with that today. So that's the agenda. So now, Liz, I'm wondering if I noticed that Kimberly, is Kimberly with you, Anne?
No, I'm afraid she's actually had to go and do a short presentation as part of the keynote because we're a little bit off in our timings. So she did talk through with me what she was planning on saying. So if you want me to give a wee brief.
Yeah, we'll get you to do that then. Yeah, so those people that are viewing, so you know, Kimberly is multitasking as we are as well, as we're trying to host this event. So Kimberly is actually presenting at this conference about maker culture in Queenstown as we speak. So she's a multi-talented person, and she may pop back in, but if she doesn't, we need to make sure that we thank you now in advance in case she's unable to come back due to commitments with the conference. So I'm going to share my screen and hand over to Anne first, and then Liz will ask you to pop in as well. So what is maker culture?
Okay, thanks, Rob. I think we've already actually given quite a good summary just through our introductions, but in essence, any kind of learning, and actually, Bridget, I think actually be learning things as well as things together. Very much from the people that I've spoken to that are approaching this maker culture in education are working at it from a design thinking perspective. So in essence it's problem solving, but you identify some kind of problem, either be it in your immediate community or just for individual students, set a challenge and use prototyping to try and solve that problem in as many different ways as possible. And also a key part of that really is embracing challenge and failure, because that's a key part of the process. Is something that you thought was going to work won't necessarily, and learning how to move on from that and change what you've been doing to achieve that success. And Liz, I know that you talked about this, so you're probably a good person to elaborate here, but it's definitely a movement that has been for need. And Liz, I know you said that originally your maker movement came about because you've got the one-to-one devices, and you were thinking that, you know, children weren't perhaps doing time, and I think that's a really great example of exactly why this movement has really been so popular in education.
Yeah, Liz, would you like to give us a bit of add to that? And then Bridget, will hand over to you just briefly.
Great. So yeah, it definitely is formed from a need, and I guess my students here have quite a strong sense of what the maker culture is about, just based on the hands-on learning that they've been able to get involved in. For us, I think also that the big thing is that we look at it as a maker mindset, and our maker mindset ties in beautifully with our attributes that we have under the International Baccalaureate for the Primary Years program. You know, looking at things like commitment and, you know, what does it mean to be able to persevere and really push through to get to that prototype and realise, okay, what to do next, because it's not quite perfect. And there's always things that you can work on. So that mindset is absolutely where we pin a lot of things, and we also sort of assess based on those kind of mindset attributes as well. Yeah, I think you. Anything to add?
Yeah, Bridget. Now, Bridget's got a really unique perspective that you know, takes us a lot more globally, which is really interesting.
Okay, yeah, so those points up there describe really, really well what is, from my perspective, a subset of global maker culture. So there's spin-offs that are Maker Ed, so Maker Education and Maker Business, and there are different sort of sorry, I'm losing the words. Yeah, it's a little bit different from what we sort of started off with as maker culture, you know, some years ago. So maker culture is very grassroots. It's initiated, I think, because of the internet. I mean, there are a lot of groups that have been like getting together to hack electronics. The open source software movement, the indie craft movement. All of these have been able to gain global momentum, even the Fab Lab movement, because of the internet connecting us all. So the digital side of that is a very unifying thing. But basically it's regional in its context. and it's context-based learning. So, you know, and it is responding to basically just the way we learn now. You know, we have so much information to process. We don't always want to be locked on computers anymore, so people want to get together and make hardware, learn these skills. Taking bits to atoms is a big foundation of maker movement, as opposed to, say, you know, just craft. I don't mean just craft, because craft is very important, but, you know, woodworking groups, you know, model train communities, that sort of thing. I think the core in maker culture is the digital connections that we have, and we've gone away from making stuff as individuals to really strong community thinking, and schools and the education network are part of that that community thinking. You know, like schools are part of our Fab Lab and Makerspace community here, so are engineers, businesses, you know, ladies sewing groups, everybody. Yeah, okay. So they're just to give you a context, you know.
It's fantastic. Now, we're going to move now on to some of the advantages of maker culture, and I'm going to invite you to start us off. Now, if the sound doesn't work, I'll stop you, and I'll get Liz to take over, and then we'll hear some perspective from Bridget's students. Okay, so advantages of this approach. Anne has just dropped out, so Liz, I'm going to hand over to you.
Sorry, I was just moving some of my girls around as well. Right, so some of the advantages of it. So the idea that it is around the making as being the central part, and the students being central to that. So the students have a lot of say in what they're doing, and by having them, I guess, have a lot of say, being able to identify the problem to start off with, and then be able to work out, okay, how am I going to tackle that problem, and looking at there are different ways to tackle it. It actually gives them an opportunity to really grasp hold of it, run with it, and be so interested in it, and engaged with the process. Yeah, and then I guess so supports a culture of critique and feedback. Reflection and feedback is absolutely huge, and it's massive in any type of education, any curriculum area, and everything to do with the maker culture ties that in. You're looking at prototypes at any stage within that design thinking process. You can go back and reflect and ask for feedback from peers, ask for feedback from your teachers, and work together to really make sure that you're getting what you need and what you want from it. And the girls seem to really, at our school, enjoy that process. It has definitely been a bit of hard work to get them used to the idea that potentially a project's never necessarily finished, because you can always have feedback, you can always look at what can I do next, or how can I improve things. And we've been working on, from year 1 to year 8, how do we get feedback from 5-year-olds to up to 13-year-olds.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I notice Anne's just dropping in and out a bit, so if she comes back, but she's just dropped out again, let's move on, and then we'll hear from Bridget's students on their perspective.
Cool. And then we've just got creates authentic opportunities for cross-curricular experiences. Yeah, so I guess it's sort of a little bit about what I talked about before, that those authentic learning opportunities are a lot stronger for students to be able to make a difference and be able to integrate their learning. We do a lot of that, and we do it across different curriculum areas, from maths to literacy to inquiry, and it can be done in all different areas.
Thank you. Right, so I'm going to hand over now to Bridget's girls, and can you girls give us your perspective? What do you think? I'll just stop sharing my screen, and give me a thumbs up, Liz, when you can see Bridget's students on the screen. Cool. Okay.
Sorry, it wasn't an earthquake.
What are some of the great things about about this whole idea and how you learn?
Facing our fears is a bit of a thing, isn't it? Remember the soldering?
Yeah, the soldering. About a year ago, I started properly learning how to solder because I found this kit, this computer kit, and it just had a little sequence of lights that I thought that it was really, really cool at the time. So I basically ruined quite a lot of it. Probably bought in a couple of components, and in a normal class, I probably would have thought that I wasn't good at technology or soldering because of not being to catch up to the class or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But because of this approach, I managed to just keep on trying again and again. And
so are you saying it's given you more confidence and a bit more skill at something that you might not have tried? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Other ideas from the other girls?
Like, Tierney is a very, very talented writer and philosopher, and so that might seem different from making. So, but you're actually getting pretty good at things like soldering and. So Tierney's just going to show you her prototype for a circuit-based doll. Hold it up to the screen.
Yeah.
Hold it right up nice and close, Tierney.
How about you come up? Yeah.
That's it, right up. Okay, tell us about this while you're holding it up so we can see it.
Okay, this is a character from Supernatural, and I've made it into a doll. And I'm going to sew a circuit inside the doll. And so when you press a switch, the eye's going to light up. I'm going to put LEDs in the eyes. So
because the TV character does that.
Yeah,
his light up eyes.
Does that, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, girls. Right, now I'm going to hand over now to Liz and get her to go through some ideas for getting started. Then once we have looked at that, we will go and I think as we're doing that, we're going to probably start listing out some ideas for possible materials, and I believe Anne might be typing into the presentation, which will be accessible via the website later on, some of the ideas that you ladies share. So over to you, Liz. I'm just going to share my screen back again. Bear with me, and we're looking at ideas for getting started. Can you see the screen share? Give me a thumbs up, Anne, if you can see the screen share. Cool. Okay, thank you. Right, over to you.
Cool. So I guess how might we get started with this approach? So the idea is that you don't really actually need to be an expert. There are so many people out there to be able to support you. I personally use Twitter and do a lot of research through blogs as a way to connect with other Maker Ed teachers. And there are a lot of free online resources that exist and free planning ideas that are already out there. It's just about sometimes finding them and doing a little bit of research to get that. So for our first point, the idea is, I guess, to make time. So lengthen your periods by integrating across all curriculum areas and allow projects to be grasped with both hands by doing that. So for example, we do this by integrating into areas such as maths. We use the 3D printer for teaching volume and measurement. Or we've created claymation videos where the girls had to make a claymation about a math strategy they're working on, and they created a library of different strategies that then other students could go on and view and really understand what was going on. And some of the other things that we have looked at, so for example, that photograph that was up there was an inquiry project which integrated science as well about Kiwi ingenuity. The other one would be, so make meaning, so consciously choose projects to help students construct knowledge through meaning and challenge them to have that drive and resilience and to persevere. So this particular image is of Hattie, and she had the challenge and she came up with it herself about how do you integrate Raspberry Pi with, it was NXT robots at the time, we had to do a lot of work on how were we going to find this information, because it was a big challenge, and we had to bring experts in to be able to make some of those connections. And from there, she's been able to create a whole project which she's entered into a competition for. And the next one would be to make mistakes. Allow the students to make the mistakes and have those failures. They learn the true meaning of prototypes through this, and we encourage iterations that foster a growth mindset. For me, one of the hardest challenges is being a facilitator and not stepping in when the students face problems. It can be difficult when a child is asking you, can you please do this for me, I'm really stuck. And to step back and rather than do it for them, to actually ask them a question instead, or point them in a direction where they might be able to find out some of that information. So, for example, this is something that Enya wanted to talk to you about that she had quite a few problems with.
So we were doing e-textiles, and this is a book that I made. It's out of felt. And it's based on the book Thief, so like the fire, because there's a lot of fire in the book Thief, and the black pages, and they kind of represent death and stuff. And I had a lot of trouble getting the circuit to actually work when I clicked the two domes together.
So it's similar to the doll, and a lot of girls found e-textiles had quite a few challenges. And the good thing about, I guess, making, so I don't know if you got to see that because we were on the slides, so this is her little book that she had. I wasn't really concentrating, sorry. So it definitely did face a lot of challenges for students, and we went through a process of having students run their own workshops. So when they realised that they had a skill that worked, or they found out something new, they would then run those workshops themselves. And that would either, I might indicate that that would be what would need to happen, or that just started to naturally occur, which was really nice. So having students become the experts and to teach other students, and also teach the teachers, rather than you being in charge all the time. The next point was to make space. So we have our own technology area at Selwyn House, and we're fortunate enough to be able to have access to a 3D printer and some other items as well. But for us, we take a lot of different approaches. So these images here are of our unquiet library, where we have maker space workshops, also rotations, I guess, set up upstairs. And it's really nice where you see Year 8 students working with Year 3 students, and they are showing one another how to do things. And sometimes it's the Year 3 students teaching the 13-year-olds how to actually go about something. And our librarian is very active within that space. The other idea that we have some of our junior classrooms doing is they actually have small makerspace tables inside their classrooms, which they use for extension activities, and they'll let students to go off, and we actually often will have just a few items out for them to manipulate and play with, and it might have a question to provoke them, or it might have an image to provoke them and to sort of challenge some thinking there. Next one would be to make an impact. So to create real life challenges to give meaning and authentic learning opportunities have such a strong impact for the students. So for example, an inquiry, we have an inquiry based on refugees, and Caroline was just going to talk to you a little bit about what that inquiry was about and how that had an impact on her.
Our inquiry was about refugees and migrants and the differences and the similarities. And what we had to do was make a machine or a toy or a piece of equipment that would help a refugee with the materials that a refugee would have. So everything was recycled. And some of the challenges that we faced was that it was quite hard to make like a toy or a pair of shoes out of newspaper and milk bottles. So it was really fun though, and we had to use a lot of creativity.
Okay.
We definitely encourage the idea of hacking different materials, so working within school budgets that can sometimes pose problems, and so that was definitely based on recycled materials, but the students really got involved and really enjoyed making something that had a purpose. The next one would be to make connections and bring in those experts. So for us, we bring in Bridget McKendry comes in to help us. She's been into a lot of local Christchurch schools as well. She runs programs where she can come in and help with teacher professional development, as well as working with the students and running little maker programs. We like the idea of having role models for our students, and in particular because we are an all-girls school, we try to at times bring in female role models to let our girls know what they can do within the industry. So this image as well is a visit, so it was our co-club and robotics girls, and we all went to EPIC in Christchurch, and we got to see what it was like to work within the profession. We got to check out animators, people who were doing advertisements and marketing, massive IT and software companies. So it was kind of that whole broad spectrum, and the students sort of really managed to make some connections to why they were doing things within schools. So that's kind of, I guess, the overview of the ideas of how to get started, and I guess just go forward and explore and see where you end up.
Thank you. Now, Bridget, have you got just a couple of quick ideas? I'm just conscious of our time. We're about 5 minutes away from 10:30. And so I'm going to speed up some parts of the agenda, and then we'll pause on others, because we need to make sure that we get through to the last part, which will be the special announcement. Bridget and your students, have you got what would be some of the maybe 3 or 4 key things that you think would make a difference in terms of materials lists that you might want to suggest people consider? And then we'll move on.
Sure. So one thing really helpful is to somehow try and get hold of even a simple 3D printer, under $1,000, and some filament. Kids at one school I know fundraise themselves so they could get a 3D printer for their class, so there's always a way. Things like copper tape, LEDs, origami paper, a selection of batteries. Basically, start your kit off in a shoebox size amount of things. Needles and conductive sewing thread, tin foil, sellotape. That's even some things like straws and a few little hobby motors are a perfect way to get started very cheaply in robotics, in design thinking, in many different problem-solving projects, and also you can learn basic techniques like wiring in series, and also online resources like Tinkercad and the 123D Design Make range of free software pretty much make 3D modeling accessible to everybody. And get a handful of Arduinos, some Raspberry Pis to get started on integrating code into atoms-based objects as well. So you can start small and build up.
Yeah. Hey, after the Hangout is finished, could you please send the links for those online sources to Anne, and Anne will put those into the presentation, and we'll make sure that we get those links out for people. And Liz, also, if you can please add to any places that are really good online references that you've used that have helped you, that would be great. Now, I just want to spend a couple of very quick minutes on a couple of issues that you may need to consider as a classroom teacher, or as possibly if you're looking at doing it more widely than in your class. Can I just start with Anne and perhaps give us one issue that you think class teachers might need to consider as if they're looking at getting started? Hopefully you've got sound.
I hope so too. I would say definitely allow time. That often when I started at the beginning of the term, things took a lot longer than I anticipated, and that needs to be allowed to happen, and things need to be able to evolve at their natural rate for the children without them feeling that you're putting a lot of extra constraints on them, which of course kind of goes against the whole purpose. So it may be a little bit of learning to relinquish a wee bit of control and just allow the day to unfold as it needs to, and see where that takes you.
Thank you. And Bridget, what would be one thing that would be a piece of advice that you think is a key issue for people to consider, please?
Okay, there's some safety issues that we always have to face. Soldering irons, they're hot. Needles, they're sharp. That sort of thing. So make sure you've got a special makerspace centric safety and organisation plan for your kit. Also, having everything organised if you're using small parts. I mean, teachers are this is part of what you do anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of materials management and maintenance time to consider. Machines break, you need to fix them. This is just something that you have to factor in time-wise. Yeah.
Thank you. Great advice. Liz, what would be one thing that an issue to consider?
I'd definitely say flexibility, just allowing the projects to take shape and take form on their own. You often, as a teacher, want to over-plan things and plan things down to the tiny little thing. You can't do that. You've got to let that control go a little bit. And the space that we have here, we'll often have girls that will be sewing, some will be using drills, hot glue guns. We have other students who will be hammering something else. So we've got so much going on in one space at one time, but it actually allows for these amazing conversations to take place. So just being flexible to allow projects to be individual and to go in the direction they need to go in.
Thank you. And while we've got you there, Liz, let's hear from your students. What do you girls think? What are some of the advantages? Give us what would be 2 reasons how this approach helps your learning. What would be 2 of the best reasons why?
It's helpful, and it gives you a chance to think a bit more, and
thank you.
More opportunities.
Great. And okay, Amelia, I see you over Liz's, I think, left shoulder.
Now, and Amelia's behind me that way.
There she is. Yeah, I spotted her. Right, right shoulder. Amelia, what do you think?
Wow.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
This is Zal.
I'm Zal, and well, I think it's very important because there are a lot of skills, and I've got younger siblings, which I notice they don't do their fine motor skills, and you need those motor skills, and so Makerspace allows us to build on those as well as other skills that we also do need to know that we wouldn't learn through doing a worksheet.
I see. Okay, thank you. Now, can I hand over to the students from Fab Lab and give you ladies a chance to share what you think. Tell us your name before you start speaking too, so that we know.
Come a bit closer as well if you like. We'll move the. Yep.
That's it. You're doing well.
You guys. Okay. Ask a question, Rob. That might be helpful.
Okay. What would be one? What would be one of the top ways that this approach helps your learning?
Well, I think that it's pretty awesome that you get to choose what you want to do whenever you really want to.
Yep. So you've got more choice. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah,
and if you were going to give the teachers that see this around New Zealand a piece of advice about this approach, what might that be? What would be one thing that you would say to teachers to give them a bit of advice if they were wanting to get started?
Especially with children.
Don't use heat guns with children. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, what I'd like to do now... What's that?
Just said health and safety advice from Luca.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm trying to say was, you get to learn in the context that you choose. You're going to learn all these different things, but you get to choose how you're going to learn that. Yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry.
the element of choice. Thank you. What I want to do now is briefly switch back to our presentation, and I'm going to very quickly draw this to a close from a sort of a bigger perspective. The question that we've been considering in behind the scenes when we've been planning this is how might this approach support the realisation of the New Zealand curriculum? And in looking at our wonderful document, pages 8 to 13 describe the vision, values, and principles and key competencies of the curriculum, which is sometimes referred to as the front end. And in looking through page 8 particularly, just wanted to point out to people the vision for the New Zealand curriculum for all students in education in New Zealand is that young people who will be confident, connected, actively involved, lifelong learners. Now, the 4 parts of that on page 8 are unpacked, and each part of that vision shows the following ideas, so that they're positive in their own identity, they're motivated and reliable, they're resourceful, enterprising and entrepreneurial and resilient, and certainly we heard some examples of students becoming more confident and resourceful and motivated and taking enterprise, that they're able to communicate and connect with others and becoming more effective communicators, that they're actively involved in their learning, and certainly we've seen some great examples of young people being involved at the Fab Lab and at Selwyn House, and also through Taupaki School in Auckland, as well as Alexandra Primary in Alexandra. And the issue of students becoming active seekers, users and creators of knowledge, point 3 under lifelong learners, I think is a really interesting one in this sense, because they're creating their own pathways and being critical and creative about that. So I think that's there's some really strong connections with this. Do our guests want to just add any other points to what I've just said before we look at wrapping up and moving on to the next part of the agenda? So Liz, did you want to add any more?
I think you've pretty much covered it there. There's definitely strong connections that can be made. So, and it's so easily, it's the way that you put it out there and showing us, the connections just can be made just like that. And you can see that it's not just a moment that this is going to be coming through. It's going to be here, and it's the way to move forward and to look at education through a different lens.
Great, thank you. Bridget, did you want to add any more to that?
Yeah, and sort of looking outward of schools themselves and the education community in New Zealand, spaces like our community space and Fab Lab are here to be used as a friendly resource. So we're quite good at herding lots of different experts from different areas into the one space, so teachers can come and children can come along and use our knowledge, to support your curriculum and your teaching plans, and even just to have a bit of fun and connect with other community members. So yeah, everyone's welcome here to, we want to help.
Yeah. Hey, let's grow Fab Lab. Let's make it go across New Zealand. Thank you. Now, I was going to, we'll have links for your own interest, which we'll post after the event. So this presentation will change. I was going to have, we're going to have a special event launch in a moment. Before that, we were going to have a commercial break. And in looking at time, when we were planning this, we didn't actually know how our timings would go. So there were 2 things that I wanted to share with you, and I'm not going to go in depth with them, but I'm going to mention them and then post through the GEG NZ community a bit more information, but also on the events page. So the first one was the Omnibox, which is your search bar in Google Chrome allows you to search for things as well as to type in the address of a website. But the second part of this commercial break was something called OmniDrive, which is an extension, and an extension adds functionality to your browser if you're using Google Chrome. So OmniDrive is a fantastic little extension that if you install it into Google Chrome, it allows you to search your Google Drive from inside the Omnibox. So this is kind of like a little bit of lingo, I guess. So the Omnibox gets a little bit of added functionality, and you literally type the word drive and then space, and then you search for something inside your Google Drive. So I'm not going to demonstrate that now because I want to move over and hand over to the lovely Fiona Grant, who is going to come online, and she is going to announce the special event. Right. Can we see?
Okay.
Liz,
Thanks,
can you see?
Rob.
Liz, can you see?
Thanks, Rob. Can I go ahead? Okay. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you letting me gate crash the end of the Hangout this morning. I've really enjoyed listening to the last half an hour. It's been wonderful having the learners as part of the Hangout for the first time on one of our GEG Spotlights. Awesome team. Which kind of really links in really nice to this announcement. You'll find the links on the last slide of today's Google presentation to a site announcing our first New Zealand Student Summit, which is going to be happening in Auckland on the 12th of August 2015. So the site is all set up and ready to go. We're really keen for students and their teachers to take a look at the site. It's going to be a one-day action-packed event, and we're focusing on creative and collaborative use of digital technologies to promote innovation and learning.
Hey, Fiona.
Yes.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Yes, that'd be great. If you could share the screen, that would be awesome, and so everyone can see the link there.
This is the for those of you like a live demonstration. Fiona has just pasted the slides.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Once you head into the site, we're really excited about the summit. Where this first part is we're looking for students and learners around New Zealand to pitch their ideas for sessions. We're looking for presentations, demonstrations, and ideas for hands-on workshops. There's also an option available there for students who may be outside of Auckland and might not be able to make it to the venue to actually pitch their presentation via a Google Hangout on the day of the summit. The summit hosted at Hobsonville Point Primary School. It is for the day, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to spend some time exploring the site, getting some ideas together for your pictures, which we've put a date of Friday the 22nd of May to have your pictures in by, and then registration will open on Monday the 8th of June. Probably one of the key things here is that the Student Summit is free to attend. There's no registration fee. We've got some wonderful support from Google for Education, and so putting some further support and sponsors to help with providing food on the day, as well as goodie bags and all those wonderful things that we teachers love about coming to conferences as well. Hopefully that once you've had a look through there, it will give you some good ideas about what we're looking for. There is a connect page, so there's lots of options there to connect, email the summit team, student summit team, or teachers can post questions in the Google Plus community for GEG NZ, and also you could even contact the team direct, and details are all up there as well. So we're hoping to see lots of pictures come in the next few weeks from students. If hopefully some of the teams that have been presenting today also might be keen as well, and really hope that this is going to be something that everyone around New Zealand will enjoy and participate in. Thanks, Rob.
Great. Hey, and reminder that everybody's helped to promote that. So we're pushing this out via social media and through any way we can. So if you are catching this, remember that both face to face in Auckland, but it's also available online as a from their teachers too. So great way to get into using connecting with other students, and it'll be the New Zealand Student Summit. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, we've set up a hashtag for the event as well. So that's GEG student. So if you're sharing, you can also use the hashtag on Twitter and on Google+. And hopefully as well, you'll be able to perhaps support some of your colleagues if you're listening in now, if they, to direct them to the site, and if they've got groups of learners that might.
Yeah, so if you've got groups of learners that might want to give this a go, give it a go virtually, and we invite all students in New Zealand and their classes to take part, so it's going to be very, very exciting. Now, just to bring things to a close, first I want to thank my co-host, Anne Batchelor from Alexandra Primary. Thank you, Anne, for your support today in getting this organised and liaison with people and patients, and for your ideas. Also, I'd love to thank Bridget and your students from Fab Lab. You guys are amazing, and we've really enjoyed hearing your perspectives, and please keep in touch. Maybe you'd like to be involved in the student summit.
Yeah, I think we've got a bit of lag on there. Sorry, I didn't catch that, Rob. I thought you'd dropped out of us.
Okay, so thank you Bridget, for your perspective today. And for your girls for sharing their ideas. We hope that you can get involved in August, so please think about getting involved and join us. That would be great. Also, thank you to Liz and your girls at Selwyn House. You guys are amazing, and it's been great to hear your perspective about how it helps your learning and your projects, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. So thank you. Okay, and finally, thank you, Fiona, for letting us know what's on offer and for that exciting event. So thank you on behalf of the Google Educator Group for New Zealand. We're going to go off air now, and just remember to follow the hashtag in Twitter, GEGNZ, as well as the Google Educator Group's Google Plus community, and keep an eye out for the Student Summit, which is Auckland, the 12th of August, face-to-face, or that same day via Google Plus Hangout. So, he kōna, and thank you on behalf of the Google Educator Group New Zealand for now.